Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Sanch, your host here on the Bodybuilding News Network. Of course, if you are new here, definitely consider subscribing. We have lots of content like this coming out in the near future. Welcome to, I'm not sure what I want to call these videos. It is a iteration of Bodybuilding Daily, where we talk about all things hot topic and trending in the world of bodybuilding. There are plenty of topics for me to talk about in this somewhat longer video. So if you do enjoy the longer format videos, definitely leave a comment down below. It does help the algorithm and allowing YouTube to allow this channel to grow. The conversation that I want to get into right off the bat, before I get into that, I was sick with the Big C last week. I was out of commission for the most part of the entire week of last week with the Big C. If you know what I mean, then you know what I mean. And we are coming back from that currently, still having some issues with my ears. They sound like there's water in them, and they're not really going away. But it is what it is. Still having a little bit of runny nose from the Big C. And it looks like I actually got a few people sick. So sorry to the ladies out there. Not my intentions, of course. I had nothing but positive intentions with those interactions. Now, moving into the first story, and probably the only story for this video, as it is going to be one of those conversations that could take up a good chunk of time, is the conversation around Big Ramy. Now, I've made a video before saying, should Big Ramy retire? I've seen a lot of people, Xavier Willis making videos about should Big Ramy retire. Also, Bob Cucurello has made plenty of content about that. I'm not going to platform him anymore now that I've kind of understood what his intent is with making content. And thank you to James and all the other super fans that kind of took the time to be like, hey, let's make sure we're putting out the right kind of content here on BNN. So thank you for that correction, that course correction. You know, this is the people's voice in bodybuilding, and we need to make sure that we are all coming together to make sure we're putting out the content that we want to consume and then also produce here on BNN. So I do appreciate all of you for that compass correction there. The conversation for today is, should Big Ramy compete soon? Now, we've seen some, I don't want to say leaked footage, but we have seen some recent physique updates showing a variety of poses of the Big Ramy in the locker room, showing off that he's still in relatively good shape. If these photos are current, it's definitely a conversation worth having. If it is current, is whether or not Big Ramy might want to compete at the upcoming 2023 Arnold Classic Brasil, aka the Arnold Classic South America, a title that has been held by a lot of very impressive people, Cedric McMillan, Rafael Brandao, just to name a few. So to have Big Ramy added to that repertoire, to have Big Ramy added to that list of champions, I think would be a very good decision on his part. The only thing I'm thinking of coming into this conversation is, how long has Big Ramy been on prep? You have to think he had to prep for the Olympia, he had to prep for the Arnold Classic, and then now he's getting ready to prep for maybe another show. Makes me wonder if he can continue to make the improvements. From my experience looking at Chad Nichols, his coach, I'm not sure if Chad brings an approach to coaching athletes of bringing them sharper and sharper the longer they're on prep. Or is he more of a person that hits it once and it's amazing and then the rest are kind of meh? You know, when I think of Chris Aceto isn't a type of coach, or at least from what I've understood from listening to him for, a better part of a decade on RX Muscles, After Hours, and the Truth Hurts, those episodes. Is that Chris Aceto really likes to bring his athletes in around 90%. He doesn't like to risk it and risk those competitors' careers and placings and prize money based off of a risk of maybe coming in just a tad bit sharper or a tad bit fuller. He likes to play the safe game. He likes to play the somewhat guaranteed game of bringing what he knows he can bring an athlete and not risk, like I said, losing some possible fullness, crispiness, conditioning, or size. Now, coming back to the Big Ramy conversation, will he compete at the Arnold Classic South America? Like I said, we've seen some physique updates from him. I thought he looked good. I think he looks like he's still in relatively good shape. Do I think it's enough to win based off the lineup we have seen so far? I absolutely do believe so. We've only had 2 competitors that I know of that have announced that they will be doing this show that would not be, in my opinion, would not be in the caliber to compete with someone like Mr. 2-time Mr. Olympia champion Big Ramy. We have RIP Cedric McMillan. He's still on my mind. We have a Sergio Oliva Jr., who some people are saying is downsized, and we could talk about that, of course, in another video. I'm not going to misdirect the conversation. We're going to stay on Big Ramy. And then we also have Baruz Tabani, who won I believe, the Romania Pro last year, being the first person to qualify for the 2023 Mr. Olympia as it returns to Orlando this early November. So those are the 2 competitors that I know of so far that have announced that they will be doing the Arnold Brazil in just a few weeks here at the end of the month, I believe, the end of April. Of course, correct me if I'm wrong there. But I would like to see Big Ramy compete again. There has been this conversation. There has been this proof of body, honestly, when you look at it, of a lot of top tier competitors not competing as much because Olympia champions, especially you look at someone like a Jay Cutler, like a Phil Heath, maybe even a Sean Roden before he was barred from competing, even a Brandon Curry, don't really compete too often. Once they get a victory, once they win the Olympia or maybe even an Arnold Classic title, they kind of shut it down. They no longer do these smaller shows in the idea that they want to take as much time as possible to make the improvements that they need to keep up with, like I said, the Olympia champions who only typically compete once a year. So people are trying to keep up with the Joneses of making the improvements with as much off-season time as possible. This is somewhat problematic in my opinion, as it does not allow us, the fans, and also media personalities like myself, it doesn't give us the opportunity to see someone like a Nick Walker stand next to an Ian Valliere, or maybe a Vlad Suharuchko stand next to maybe a top Olympian. It doesn't give these young up-and-comers, or even some of these guys that are still trying to hang on, trying to throw a few more punches before they become not as competitive in the open lineup. It gives them that opportunity to stand next to the best of the best and get those comparisons, to get those critique shots, to get the feedback from their coaches and their judges, because they're able to stand next to the best of the best. So my big takeaways from this my big takeaways from this conversation as we do creep towards the 10-minute mark. I wasn't really sure how long I wanted to rant on this, but 10 minutes I'm sure is just fine for you phenomenal people as you are crushing your cardio. I'm hoping I'm helping you with your morning cardio or evening cardio. Let me know down below. But my big takeaways here, ladies and gentlemen, is I would like to see Big Ramy compete if he is in relatively good shape and he would be competitive at the Arnold Classic Brasil or South America. I would like to see him do that show. I think he absolutely could win that show handily. And I don't think after his 4th place finish at the Arnold Classic, I don't think that he has much momentum going towards him right now. So might as well do an Ashley Kaltwasser. No disrespect to her, of course. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But he could do something like that and just start racking up the wins in smaller shows. As Big Ramy is, I don't want to say not a young spring chicken, but he is in his very early 40s and has been competing at the top tier of bodybuilding when you think of training, performance enhancing supplements, things of that nature. He's been doing that for a long time, over a decade and a half, if you will, maybe a stretch there, but he has been competing, I know, since at least 2012. So my thought here, I'd like to see him compete. I'd like to see more of the top pros compete, as I think it does help the sport grow more. And if I'm being honest, if we're not going to be able to see the people compete, I would at least like to see them be in relatively good shape to do guest posings with the people that are winning these shows. Say you have someone like Hadi Chupan, who is in Iran. He could be doing guest posings at any of the European Tour shows, any of those Grand Prix, any of the Portugal Pros, Italy Pros, the Yamamoto Cups, the Kuwaiti Pros, the Saudi Pros. Any of those shows he could be showing up to, doing guest posings, standing next to these up-and-coming competitors, giving them the opportunity to get those comparisons that, if we're thinking about it, they might never get that comparison. So that's kind of my big takeaway. Hopefully people can understand my thought process and my sentiment. And of course, I'm always here to advocate for athletes and promote shows. So whatever I can do to help this sport grow and not just one league, that is my intent. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this quick rant here on the Bodybuilding News Network. I'm your host, Josh Sanch. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and definitely subscribe if you enjoy this style of content. Share with a like-minded individual. It does help the channel grow. And make sure you check out our Instagram, as we do have a lot of content posted that you might not see here on the YouTube channel. But that's it. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you want to see next on this channel, and we will see you in the next one.